Part 91. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 902. And at this moment. Demonic wasteland, somewhere in the mountains. A middle-aged man found a cave and got in. Then he took out a jade box. In the jade box, there were 3 bones. Seeing these 3 bones, Xuanhuan's eyes flashed with excitement. Old Ao, I'm not going to the heavenly demon palace. Damn, the fat man and the dog are over there. Only go there if you're crazy. Xuanhuan muttered. He and Song Ji-yuan were forced by Supreme Elder Hui Song to return to the demonic realm. After coming in, he followed the old rules and asked Song Ji-yuan to hide, and then bravely took the bones of the Forbidden Master to find the evil corpse. Then, he went straight to this mountain forest and hid. At this moment, after confirming that the surroundings were safe, he opened the jade box directly. He reached out and grasped the bones of the Forbidden Lord. Suddenly, a mysterious aura flowed from the Forbidden Lord's bones, following his hand, and poured into his dantian, and was absorbed by the ups and downs of the 9-story black tower. After all the power of the 3 bones was absorbed, about 1/3 of the second floor of the small black tower was suddenly deified. Xuanhuan's aura suddenly changed, reaching the 7th level. Lingtai realm. Huh? The second layer requires more bones than the first layer. Xuanhuan was happy but also a little confused. The first level of the Black Tower only used the power of absorbing 3 bones to become completely deified. But after also absorbing 3 of them, 2/3 of the tower body on the second floor is still rusty and mottled. No matter, let's do this for now. Xuanhuan didn't think much, he put the 3 bones back into the jade box. At this moment, the cracks in those 3 bones had disappeared, they were covered with bloodshot eyes, and they were alive. But the scenes of the battle were not recorded. Xuanhuan took out the piece of ancient jade given by Hui, feeling a little worried. After thinking for a moment, he simply gritted his teeth and punched the ancient jade hard. Just destroy it and say when you get back that the ancient jade couldn't withstand the power of the battle and was shattered. However, when he punched down, the ancient jade was actually intact. Not broken. Xuanhuan suddenly became angry and said. Competing with Lao Ao? Do you think you are from a small mountain village? He jumped up directly and used the 9 heavens thunder tripod. The lightning flashed and the power of his feet shook the entire mountain range. Finally, the ancient jade turned into powder. Xuanhuan left with satisfaction. The demonic desolate realm, a place in the void. Brother Xuanhuan, you must not die. Song Ji-yuan was waiting here, his eyes full of expectation. He recalled the scene when Xuanhuan left. At that time, in the demonic desolation, the battle was still going on, and terrifying chi energy came from one after another, making him unable to stand and kneeling many times. The heavenly demon palace is definitely a dragon's den and a tiger's den. There is a battle between the ultimates. If ordinary people go there, they will die. Even those who are strong at the opening level are not qualified to participate. However, in the face of such a dangerous place, Xuanhuan was not afraid at all and moved forward. That determined look, brave demeanor, and desperate demeanor. Song Ji-yuan's eyes started to heat up as he thought about it. Brother Ao, you have protected my brother so many times. If you die this time, I will definitely burn more paper money for you. He clenched his fists. Then, he saw, not far away, a black spot approaching quickly and gradually getting bigger. That's a human figure. Xuanhuan's figure. Song Ji-yuan suddenly became excited. He hurriedly stepped forward to greet him and said. Brother Ao, you are finally back. He looked around and saw Xuanhuan, who was in a mess and covered in stone blood, as if he had walked out of a hail of bullets. How's it going? You're not hurt, are you? Song Ji-yuan asked eagerly. Ao Wushuan shook his head and said, "Brother Song, don't worry. Although I'm seriously injured, I won't die yet." As he spoke, he took out the jade box and said, "The bones of the Forbidden Lord have revived." However, the battle in the Demon Palace was too terrifying. The ancient jade was directly shattered. Song Ji-yuan was overjoyed to see the situation. The three bones were all revived. This Ao Wushuan is indeed a truly blessed general. It doesn't matter. Being able to bring back the bones of the Forbidden Lord is already a great achievement. The organization won't blame you. Let's go find Elder Huihe to intercede now. We just lost the ancient jade. He must be satisfied. Immediately, the two of them returned quickly. However, when they returned, they found that the original space was empty again. Nobody. What is going on? Where is Elder Huizong? Song Ji-yuan spoke. At this moment, another piece of crystal suddenly emerged from the void. I'm here. In the crystal, there is a remnant soul of Hui Song. At this moment, he said with difficulty. I was ambushed by Chang Sun Bulet and me and Ji Wu Dan. Wu Jianghe was inside participating in the ultimate battle, while they were hunting us on the outside. Quick, save me, take me back. Song Ji-yuan was a little confused at the moment. Why was he exactly the same as the previous Elder Ren Cheng? At that time, Elder Ren Cheng also forced him and Ao Wushuan to go to Wuhuang realm. As a result, when the two of them came back, Ren Cheng was also killed, and a trace of his life was hidden in the life-preserving jade talisman. He suddenly remembered that when Ao Wushuan was forced to leave by Renchinj, he wished Renchinj a long life before leaving. And this time, when Ao Wushuan said goodbye, he also wished Huizong immortality and great success. Damn it, could it be? Could it be that Ao Wushuan Zhu died? He felt a little nervous for no reason. Is this Ao Wushuan a lucky star or a disaster star? At this moment, Ao Wushuan looked at the crystal quietly and said, Master Huizong, there is no danger of this crystal breaking, you should be safe, right? Huizong sighed. Crystal safety is safe, but I was seriously injured by Ji Wuden. Now I can barely breathe, and this breath may break at any time. Ao Wu's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, Lord Huizong, I wish you continuous breathing and a long life. Hui Song said. I thank you, ahem, ho ho, ah. He just finished speaking, gasping for air, and then the remaining soul died directly. Completely dead. Song Ji-yuan next to him was stunned when he saw this scene. At this moment, he was completely sure. This brother Ao, is he afraid of being a disaster star? Who can defeat whom? He couldn't help wiping his cold sweat, feeling inexplicably happy, and murmured. I'm really tough on my life, I'm tough on my destiny. Ao Wushuan sighed and said. Hey, why did Elder Huizong die? It's heartbreaking. We, the visitors, have lost a good elder. Seeing this, Song Ji-yuan was speechless. He wanted to say, Elder Huizong, was it not you, Ao Wushuan, who died? However, he is very weak and timid now, and he dare not speak much at all. If he offends Brother Ao and wishes him a blessing, wouldn't that be a bad thing? Brother Song, let's go back to the organization. Ao Wushuan spoke. Okay, let's go back to the organization. Song Ji-yuan also spoke. The matter was now at this point and he could only go back first. At the same time, in the demonic desolate, another group of people also walked out of the demonic desolate. Astonishingly, it was Ji Kink and others. They said goodbye to Xian Ning and others, and now they still need to go back to Ji's house. Following them was Ji Fangruo, who only had half of her body left. Of the 9 ancient immortal clans, among the vast team, only 3 members of the Ji family were left alive, and the rest were all dead. Ji Fangru was in a daze all the way, and it wasn't until she was far, far away from the demonic wasteland and into the void that she gradually woke up. After she woke up, she was grateful to Ji Kink and thanked her from the bottom of her heart. This made Ji Kink feel a little complicated. In the devilish wilderness, those who take refuge in the grey fog should be punished. The Demon King stayed behind, and under the orders of Xuanhuan, he carried out a large-scale cleansing and rectification of the demon wilderness. At the same time, he gained a lot this time and obtained all the spells in the ultimate magic book. It can be said that it pointed out the way forward for him and he can already hit the top level. According to Xuanhuan's instructions, after he has finished reorganizing the demon desolate world, he can go to the martial desolate realm and find the oath-keeping valley, so, he is also full of fighting spirit. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 903. True Ancestor Realm. Shocking battles in the demonic wilderness kept coming, and various terrifying fluctuations shocked the true Ancestor Realm. Every major force was frightened and trembling. On this day, the mountain-protecting formations of many sects were fully activated. The ancestors who were in seclusion were awakened, but they could only shrink back. Mohuang, what exactly happened? I felt the power that shattered the universe. Did all the ultimate masters in the ancestral world go there to fight? The power of the intersection of reality and reality has appeared more than once. It is the power of Dao Jingdi, the battle of the ultimate. What happened? I sensed the shocking demonic energy, the invincible blood energy, the murderous intent that rippled across the sky, the cold light that shocked the 9 provinces. Is a catastrophe imminent in the true ancestor realm? Many immortal figures are making guesses. At the same time, all the major forces have sent people to go to the 9 ancient immortal clans to seek confirmation. What happened in the demonic wasteland must have been a battle between the ultimates, and the world was doubting whether the beings in the temple of sacrifice took action. However, the 9 ancient immortal clans all denied it. They claimed that the ancestors of the major ancient tribes and those on the road all retreated in the temple of sacrifice and never left. This makes people even more confused. At the same time, the 9 ancient immortal clans were also speculating and feeling uneasy. Their senior officials all knew what was going on this time. The creatures in the Sea of Grey Mist are coming to hunt down the ultimate master Wu Jianghe. However, it now seems that the resulting war seems to be beyond their imagination. I'm afraid the genius of our clan won't be able to come back. In a battle of this level, even the one who opened the door will die, Zayasi and the others will be in danger. Many wealthy families are worried. However, right now. Boom. The rules of the endless avenue condensed into one avenue, spreading across it, alarming the entire true ancestor realm. A surge of blood and murderous intent permeated the air, causing all living beings in the world to tremble. Supreme travel. This is the supreme blood path, is what is born this time a bloody evil corpse. Coming from the demonic wilderness, she participated in the battle in the demonic wilderness. For a time, everyone was shocked. Countless people are kneeling in worship. Under the gaze of everyone, a woman in white was seen in the sky, stepping out from the bridge of the avenue. She was wearing a white silk ribbon and dragging a stone statue. It's not just blood fierce, what she's pulling, is the legendary no, Manzun. Someone exclaimed, recognizing the identity of the stone statue. Barbarian Lord, used his body to repair the leaks in the sky, and once endured great strangeness and great cause and effect. He is worthy of the name of the world-honored one. Other supremes still have corpses left, but his corpse turned into stone and remained silent. Not only the bloody villains, but also the barbarian lords have come out. Tianyuan will be leveled. This era is really going to change. The evil corpses of the world-honored one are constantly appearing. What kind of mysterious hand is driving all of this between heaven and earth? Many cultivators whispered that the evil corpses of the Lord appeared one after another. No matter how stupid the world was, they were aware of the smell before the storm. No, the bloody murderer is going to the world sacrifice divine state. She is not looking for the world sacrifice temple. Someone discovered the clue, and for a while, the world paid attention. After all, before Sword Master, Martial Master, etc. were born, they all went to the world sacrifice temple. Sure enough, not long after, the bridge of the avenue directly crossed the sacrificial divine state. The woman in white, a bloody murderer of a generation, looked indifferently at the billion-mile-long sacrificial land of China, where incense is flourishing. There are many temples, and there are countless dojos. A sarcastic look flashed at the corner of her mouth, and then she waved. Boom! Suddenly, the earth stirred, and countless dojos, palaces, etc. in the sacrifice divine state were destroyed again and again. At this moment, the mentality of countless cultivators in Shishi Shenzhou was a little broken. It had only been established for a few days, but it collapsed again. This is the fourth time it has collapsed. Blood fierce, why did you destroy our dojo? At this moment, the vast bronze palace appeared instantly, and Ning Tianji's voice roared. The aura of the ultimate was even released from the sacrifice temple. Xuanhuan glanced at the world sacrifice temple indifferently and said, "You are only worthy of living in a dark corner, but you dare to steal incense from the world. Is it worthy?" Hearing this, Ning Tian was very angry and said, "We are the ultimate ones. How dare you humiliate us like this even though you are so weak? Are you looking for death?" The bloody murderer said, "Don't accept it? Come on, whoever wants to die, get out." Extremely domineering. After she finished speaking, there was a brief silence in the temple of sacrifice. At this moment, Ning Tianji clenched his fists and gritted his teeth, but he hesitated. "Mainly, I'm afraid of being beaten. The front and back Yinzun, Wuzun, Swordzun. They were all killed in one move." Although he, Ning Tianji, was very reckless, he had been beaten too many times, and had a better memory. At this time, Changsun Changqing opened his mouth to exhort, and said with sincerity, "Brother Ning, bear with me, bear with me. Don't be like these evil corpses. You can't beat her." However, when Ning Tianji heard this, he immediately became furious and said angrily, "Who said I can't beat him? Can't bear it anymore, can't bear it anymore." He couldn't bear it any longer, and when he raised his hand, a shadow suddenly appeared from the temple and appeared outside the temple of sacrifice. That was Ning Tianji's projection. This projection stood with its hands behind its back, with a powerful aura, like a great master. At this moment, it looked down at the bloody murderer and said, "Let you know that this life is no longer your era." After saying that, he suddenly kicked towards the bloody murderer. However, the bloody murderer just glanced at him coldly. In her eyes, a bloody rainbow suddenly erupted. Boom! In an instant, Ning Tianji's figure exploded. There's not even a scum left. At this moment, in the world sacrifice temple, Ning Tianji faintly heard a painful groan, and then fell into a deep silence. A group of flies dared to run rampant despite being in a high position. The bloody murderer said coldly, "If you don't accept it, get out and I will kill you until you accept it. Kill until you are convinced." These words spread throughout the world. Extremely domineering. Everyone in the entire true ancestor realm was shocked. An evil corpse is so powerful that no one in the temple of sacrifice dares to take a step. Being able to kill the famous 10 masters and 2 fiends in the great turmoil of the former White Mist era is indeed beyond the comparison of ordinary road warriors. It's all over, no matter how strong you are, so what? The ancestors in the world sacrifice temple are the masters of this life, and the bloody murderers are just evil corpses, but they are short-lived. Many people whispered. In front of the temple of sacrifice to the world, Xueji saw that no one dared to come out anymore and said coldly, "Save the lives of these ants for me, and in the future, someone will sweep away the dust and clear old accounts." After saying that, she turned around and left. Shortly after, the extreme north of the true ancestor realm, the bloody murderer dragged Manzun's stone statue and appeared on the Great Wall of Bones. She stared at the Great Wall of Bones for a long time, her eyes filled with emotion. Killing through the sea of grey mist, melting 10,000 ways, refining 9 arts, she has gone further than us. Perhaps, she has entered the legendary land and embarked on the road to salvation in her imagination. She whispered. Among the 9 laws, we have glimpsed the avenue that we have never seen. It is called the Supreme Law. It is a pity that it loses to human nature. She shook her head and said nothing more. She walked across the Great Wall and entered the abyss of heaven without any nostalgia. Entering the abyss, the bloody evil withers away and turns into spots of light all over the sky. The stone statue of Manzun shattered silently, turned into powder, and melted into the light bridge. Now, Xuanhuan and his party finally returned to the Wuhuang realm. They entered the dead man's wasteland directly and appeared in front of the small mountain village. I'm tired of saying good night, I won't say it again. Princes and empresses, please sleep by yourselves. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 904. A small mountain village, in a small courtyard. The cold wind is bitter and cold, and when it blows by, it makes people feel biting. The music of the south wind, also because of the cold wind, has a colder meaning, which makes people more and more immersed in the soul, making them forget about the world in an instant. Ouch! At her feet, Tianlang Qian was touched by the music, closed his eyes, and couldn't help but let out a low wolf cry. On the other side, even though the weather was freezing cold and the water in the pool was cold, Xuanhuan was still playing in the water, playing with koi and blackfish, as if falling asleep. Duguyuking's calligraphy progressed very quickly, and he finally mastered the Sword of Heiran in regular script. Nanfang, Xuanhuan, and Duguyuking made the fastest progress. Because they have all had a glimpse of the ultimate palace. In a sense, they have seen the road ahead. Therefore, there is no need for too much understanding and learning, just as if you are walking on flat ground, everything will come naturally. But Ziling, Qing Chen, Lin Zhuzhen, Zhang Li, etc. also progressed at a slow pace, and they all reached the 7th level of perfection. No. I can obviously win this game of chess. On the other side, Yongzi was playing chess with Li Fan. This time, the two played for a long time, and Yongzi had a puzzled face. Her study of chess has become more and more in-depth. In the past few days, she has come up with a new idea that can make all the chess pieces alive, connect them as one, and make the whole board full of soldiers. However, after a game with Li Fan, he was trapped to death. The idea is good, but it still needs to be improved. Li Fan smiled slightly and said, "You want all the chess pieces on the board to become elite soldiers and generals, but you must know that changes on the chessboard cannot be achieved in one go. You might as well think about it and divide your chess pieces into 9 paths, and the 9 chi can be connected horizontally to go one step further." He is good at teaching. In fact, Yun 11's idea surprised him a little. This kind of chess strategy that involves the whole board is extremely ambitious and far-sighted. If it succeeds, all the chess pieces will be alive. However, after all, he is still a little immature and has many flaws. Li Fan did not rush to deduce the situation for her, but gave her some ideas and let her think about it slowly. Hearing this, Yongzi thought thoughtfully and said, "Convert one method into 9 methods, and 1 qi into 9 qi, so that's it? In this way, we can indeed better support the situation of lifting the plate to cross the river together. She couldn't help but fall into thinking. It was at this moment that all kinds of thoughts converged, and Li Fan's instructions made her see the sun through the clouds, and the spiritual platform was filled with clarity. Vaguely, she seemed to see 10 divine fires vaguely visible in the spiritual platform. That is the next level of Lingtai, soul enlightenment. 3 souls and 7 souls, conceived in the divine fire of the Lingtai. The so-called soul enlightenment is to detect the location of the 3 souls and 7 souls, and let the 3 souls and 7 souls move from the unconscious state to the conscious state. The 3 souls and 7 souls are the foundation for cultivators to communicate with each other and open the door to the road. Yongzi touched the edge of soul qi, but had not yet fully entered it. Meow meow. At this moment, on Li Fan's lap, Xiaobai stretched out, got his head out of the blanket, and licked Li Fan's hand with his tender red tongue. The weather is cold, and Li Fan is afraid that she will be cold, so when she sleeps, Li Fan will cover her with a small blanket. Little lazy cat. Li Fan rubbed Xiaobai's belly, stood up and said, Lu Rang, bring your things and let's add a quilt to the trees in the village. The weather has been getting colder and colder these days, and I'm afraid it will snow soon. So Li Fan asked Lu Rang to prepare a lot of blankets, waist quilts, and the like to wrap the trees in the village, to avoid being frozen to death in winter. Okay, master. Lu Rang immediately hung 2 large baskets of tattered quilts on the sacred bull and asked the little golden bull to carry them. Then he led the sacred bull and followed Li Fan. After walking out of the village, Li Fan checked the condition of the trees in the village as he walked. There are many mature trees that have strong cold resistance and do not need to be wrapped in quilts, but some newly planted small trees do. Under Li Fan's guidance, Lu Rang used ropes to trap the tattered quilts and other items one by one on the trunk of the small tree. The 2 of them walked along the road in the village and headed out. And at this moment, in the desert of the dead, in front of a small mountain village, everyone fell down. This is the small mountain village you mentioned. Seeing the small mountain village in front of him, Demon Ancestor was immediately shocked, with an incredible look in his eyes. This place is too scary. It was full of vast taboo aura, and just one look at it made him feel unsteady and want to worship. How could a place like this appear in this world? Blood Ancestor also murmured, he said. It's a truly taboo place. No wonder a blade of grass can reach the taboo, a vegetable insect can swallow the powerful, the creatures that live in this kind of place, every plant and tree, are extraordinary. His eyes also instantly exuded a light of expectation and hope. He rang Zhang Shue's words, the Chinese New Year is coming soon, and by then, the village will kill pigs and make blood tofu. If only I could get a bite. This life is worth it. The bones in this village, I'm afraid they are incredible. Qi Ancestor's eyes were also very solemn. Things born in this kind of place definitely contain the spirit of taboo. Can you even refine forbidden artifacts? He was moved, really moved, so he wanted more dog bones. When Zhang Shui saw the small mountain village, she couldn't help but reveal a long-lost smile, with joy in her eyes. Although she didn't live in the small mountain village for too long, during that time, she had already regarded this place as her spiritual destination. Even if the underworld is destroyed, she still firmly believes that nothing will happen to Senior Li and the small mountain village, and they will definitely be able to transcend the cause and effect of yin and yang and appear in the yang world. Now, I finally see you. At this moment, Mog had a happy smile on his lips, but his eyes couldn't help but sparkle. Just like I imagined, same. Her eyes were looking at the entrance of the village. On the roadside at the entrance of the village, a plum tree stood in the wind. The leaves were withered, but the figure stood upright, as if waiting and looking out, never moving. There is also a plum tree at the entrance of the village, It seems similar to the one I planted back then. After my eldest brother left, I also planted one, because with the plum tree around, I always feel that my eldest brother is still there. I was busy fighting afterwards, and I didn't even know if the tree was still alive. She smiled so sweetly. This is where Big Brother lives? Xuanhuan took Emoji's hand and said. The Chinese New Year is almost here, and the village is very lively. Come on, let's go see Big Brother. The group of people headed towards the small mountain village. In the blink of an eye, we entered the small mountain village. Xuanhuan suddenly felt that her hands were empty. Suddenly he turned around, but saw that the evil spirit had not followed. She couldn't see the evil figure. Why? Zinning looked outside the village. Demon fierce, why don't you want to follow? The big black dog whispered, saying. She doesn't want to come in, she has passed away, and you have been reborn. In fact, the big black dog saw clearly that the evil spirit stayed not far outside the village, hiding in the void. She looked at the small mountain village from a distance, with a smile on her lips, but she did not want to come here. Xuanhuan wanted to say something else, but at this moment, a voice came from behind them. Dade, Xuanhuan, are you back? Hearing this, Xuanhuan, Wu Dade and others immediately turned their heads. I saw Li Fan walking slowly on the road in the village with a smile on his face. Behind him, Lu Rang was holding the little golden calf, following step by step. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 905. Seeing Li Fan, Xuanhuan, Wu Dade, and others were all quite excited. Meet the master. I've met the master. Wu Dade and Gong Ya both saluted. No need to be polite. Li Fan smiled lightly and spoke. When he saw Zhang Shui, he couldn't help being surprised and said. Miss Zhang, long time no see, how are you doing? Zhang Shui's eyes were extremely excited, and she also stepped forward and said. Greetings, Senior Li, everything is fine with Zhang Shui. Li Fan nodded and said. Do you have a fixed place now? Zhang Shui shook her head. Then stay in the village. Aunt Wang and the others miss you too. Li Fan smiled, quite happy. At first, Zhang Shui followed Huo Ling Mu Jianing and the others to find him, but now, he hasn't seen his old friends for a long time. Huo Ling and the others didn't know how they were doing outside. Hearing this, Zhang Shui was even more grateful and said. Thank you, Senior. At this moment, the three demon ancestors also looked at Li Fan subconsciously. Immediately afterwards, the three of them hurriedly lowered their heads and knelt down as if their eyes were burned by the sun. I'm sorry, I was wrong. I shouldn't have offended Senior, please forgive me. Demon Ancestor spoke directly, cold sweat dripping down his face. With just one glance, he was already sure, the young man in front of him who could not be looked at directly must be her brother that Xuanhuan had mentioned before. It was so terrifying. At first glance, they could not feel the slightest aura of cultivation from Li Fan. However, I instinctively dare not look at it or be disrespectful. How should the other party exist? They dare not even think about it. I'm willing to dig out my eyes, please, Senior, please spare my life. The blood ancestor also spoke with a trembling voice. He felt that he was dead for offending such a powerful person. Chiziu was also panicked. He was at a loss and looked anxiously at the big black dog next to him and said. Brother dog, I don't want the bones anymore. Please help me and give me a way out, can you? He is really afraid. But when the big black dog heard this, he just barked a few times and ignored him at all. And Li Fan was a little confused when he saw these three strangers suddenly kneeling down and acting so strangely. He couldn't help but look at Wu Dade and said. Dade, what is this? Wu Dade suddenly became very carefree and said. Master, these three, are all mentally ill and crazy. He pointed at the demon ancestor and said, he is a scumbag, but he suffers from delusional disorder. He always says that he is a top student, he has been crazy for a long time. Demon ancestor was kneeling on the ground. Hearing these words, he suddenly became reluctant. Although the boss is here and doesn't dare to offend, you fat man can't insult people like this. You can say that I am not strong enough, but, you can't say that I am a scumbag. This is dignity, this is the bottom line. Even if you die, you cannot bear the name of a scumbag. He couldn't help but grit his teeth and argued. I'm not a scumbag, I'm pretty good at studying. Wu Dade clicked his tongue and said, Master, you see, the hypochondriasis has occurred again, and it's starting to happen. When Li Fan heard this, he was also hesitant and couldn't help but turn towards the demon ancestor and said tentatively, what is the sum of the interior angles of a triangle? When demon ancestor heard this, he was immediately stunned. What? Triangle? The sum of interior angles? How many degree? What the hell is this? I understand every word. How come it seems like it becomes a heavenly book when put together? Completely unrecognizable. He suddenly broke into a cold sweat. This was indeed a question asked by a big boss, it was too profound. I didn't know what kind of avenue it touched, but I couldn't understand it at all. This boss, is he testing himself in school? Absolutely. He vaguely felt that this would be a big opportunity for him. If you can answer the boss's question, you might be favored by the boss and get unimaginable opportunities. But, this question is really too difficult. He thought hard, gritted his teeth and said, Tao gives birth to 1, gives birth to 2, 2 gives birth to 3, 3 gives birth to all things, 3 is the source of everything, triangle, is the infinite law of heaven, earth, and man, triangle is the supreme true shape of the great road. The inner one refers to the Taoist scenery, the inner corners, it is to show the supreme true shape of the triangle in the Taoist scenery, so as to embark on the road ahead, and there are so many scenery on this road that it is impossible to fathom. He just had to bite the bullet and contained everything he had learned in his life. After all, no matter what, you can't hand in a blank paper in front of the boss. When Li Fan heard this, he was immediately shocked. What the hell is this? The sum of the interior angles of a triangle, such a simple question, but this guy can talk so much nonsense. The key is this reliable? It doesn't even lean on the side. He instantly understood that this was a real scumbag, delusional, and quite crazy. Seeing that demon ancestor was still talking nonsense, he immediately said, Stop, 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 no need to say anything. When demon ancestor heard this, he immediately stopped his eloquent words, raised his eyes full of hope, and said, Senior, my answer, may be in your eyes. Li Fan shook his head and said, Entering the Dharma's eye, I'm afraid it won't work, but it's okay to be admitted to the hospital. When demon ancestor heard this, he was startled. What did this giant mean? Admission? What courtyard? Could it be that he is entering the academy? Is there a Dao college established in this mountain village? It seems that although my answer is not in the eyes of the big boss, it has certain merits. Therefore, this big boss thinks that he is a talent and wants to recruit him as a student in the academy. Doesn't this mean that he is now on his lap and will soar into the sky? He was immediately overjoyed and said, That's great, thank you, senior, for giving me this great opportunity. He kowtowed repeatedly. Li Fan was even more speechless. Are you so happy to enter a mental hospital? This is absolute mental illness, you can't fake it. Then, he looked at the blood ancestor and said, What about this? This old man looked like he was just skin and bones, wearing blue clothes, he was even worse than the Luo Xing Chen who came before. Wu Date continued. This one is so hungry that he wants to eat blood all day long. He doesn't like eating anything else. When Li Fan heard this, he couldn't help but a flash of surprise flashed in his eyes. Hungry. Still want to eat blood. Is this a violent tendency due to hunger? Li Fan couldn't help but speak and sighed. If you are hungry, why not eat other food but blood? When the blood ancestor heard this, he immediately panicked, completely panicked. He could tell that the big boss was displeased with his bloodthirstiness in his words. He trembled, lay on the ground, and explained. Senior Qi, I am suffering from blood hunger. I can only survive by eating blood and absorbing nutrients from the blood. I am by no means a bloodthirsty person. I have never eaten a living person in millions of years. When Li Fan heard this, he felt like a slap in the head. Can you only survive by eating blood? If you have never eaten a living person, have you ever eaten a dead person? How many more millions of years? This one is more ridiculous than the other. This one is hopeless, so crazy that it is impossible to communicate. Forget it, just go to the hospital. He spoke directly. When the blood ancestor heard this, he was startled for a moment. He was also a little confused. He was admitted to the hospital? He didn't understand what kind of hospital it was. However, he thought that it should be a good thing that demon ancestor was so happy and joyful just now when he was allowed to be admitted to the hospital by this big boss. Thank you, senior. Thank you, thank you. He also spoke. Li Fan's eyes turned to Qi Ziu and said. What about you? What's going on? Qi ancestor was also extremely nervous and couldn't speak clearly, saying. Senior Qi, I wanted a few dog bones at first. He pointed at the big black dog and said. This dog promised me to give me all its bones, but then it reneged on the promise and said it would take me to the village to find good bones, that's why I came. Senior, I didn't mean to offend. After listening to this, Li Fan suddenly felt that the one who liked to eat blood seemed to be quite normal. Is this third one already terminally ill? If you like dog bones, forget about this hobby. However, if you agree to whatever dog you want and give him bones, isn't this crazy talk? Can you talk to dogs? Can you still negotiate business with a dog? Is this something a normal person can do? Crazy cancer, terminal stage. Absolutely late. Hopeless. Come to hospital, come to hospital. Li Fan didn't want to say anything anymore. Qi ancestor was immediately surprised, and said. Can I also be admitted to the hospital? Thank you, senior. In the blink of an eye, the three mentally ill people have gone somewhere. Brother, why are you here? Zinning asked at this moment, with a hint of hope in her eyes. Li Fan smiled lightly and said. Winter has arrived, and it won't be long before it snows heavily. By then, some small trees in the village will be damaged by the frost, so I took Lu Rang and put some clothes on these small trees. As he spoke, he walked forward, gently touched the plum tree at the entrance of the village, and murmured. This tree was the first tree I transplanted when I traveled back in time, it is now standing tall and graceful. He thought back to those days. When he awakened the cheating system, he happened to encounter this half-dead plum tree in a mountain range. It was an abandoned small courtyard, with a vegetable patch and a pond, but it was overgrown with withered grass and the house had collapsed over the years and turned into dust. Saving this plum tree was his first mission that year. Memories slowly flowed by, and Li Fan couldn't help but sigh, saying. The bleak autumn wind is coming again today, the human world has changed. And outside the small mountain village, a little girl, hiding in the darkness. She looked at the small mountain village ahead and saw the tree and the young man next to the tree. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she smiled heartily. Big brother has not forgotten me. It turns out that the plum tree at the entrance of the village is the one I planted. The plum tree is planted at the entrance of the village. As soon as I see it, I know I'm home. Brother, I have been home. Thank you. After saying that, her figure disappeared from the place. Village entrance. Li Fan suddenly raised his head and looked outside the village, with a trace of confusion in his eyes. Big brother, what's wrong? Zinning asked. Li Fan shook his head and said. Nothing. Maybe seeing the plum tree remain the same year after year only arouses emotions. Just for a moment, he felt a trace of unspeakable bitterness and sadness for no reason. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 906. Shortly after. A road of demons stretches across the starry sky of the universe. The devil traveled and passed through the true ancestor realm. In an instant, the true ancestor realm was alarmed again. What's going on? Is the Supreme traveling again? The overwhelming demonic energy, is it the great evil in the legend, the evil evil? It must be. I don't know what kind of big change has happened this time in the demonic wilderness, the evil spirit must have been born. The world is watching. The major families were trembling again, wondering what happened today. The Blood Fierce and the Barbarian Lord had just left, and the third Supreme Lord came again. The great changes in the world are accelerating, 3 Supreme Beings were born in one day. I have a premonition of the coming storm, Supreme Xuanhuan. In this life, the world may be in great trouble. Many people are whispering. Do you think MOG will go to the World Sacrifice Temple? Some people spoke expectantly. But this question does not need to be answered. In an instant, the heavenly demon avenue flew through the sky and reached the sky above the World Sacrifice divine state. I really went. In the Temple of Sacrifice, is someone going to be beaten again? How do I feel? During this period, the status of the temple in my mind has plummeted. Many people couldn't help but speak. The devil had just come to the divine state to sacrifice the world. Many people had already guessed what would happen. The divine state of sacrifice, billions of lands, and countless palaces were all destroyed by the previous bloody murder. Now, various major venues are organizing manpower for repairs. Suddenly, I felt the breath coming from the sky, and when I looked up, I saw that the believers and cultivators of the world sacrifice divine state suddenly felt a little depressed. This one hasn't been built yet, so why is there another one? Is it over yet? Damn it, stop building it now, wait until this person leaves? Fortunately it hasn't been built yet, otherwise it would have been all in vain. Many people speak, and they are used to it. Devil, what are you doing here? In the Temple of Sacrifice, Ning Tianji's voice sounded again. Demon Fierce stood on the heavenly demon avenue, glanced at the World Sacrifice Temple calmly, and said. Just take a look, can't you? If not, then fight. In the Bronze Hall, Ning Tianji was furious when he heard this. He almost couldn't help but take action. But after thinking about it, he finally suppressed it and said bitterly. You are just a dying person, I would rather someone, don't even bother to take action. When he said this, everyone was shocked when they heard this. This person in the Temple of Sacrifice is actually not reckless this time. In the Temple of Sacrifice, even the ultimates were surprised at this moment. Brother Ning, have you regressed like this? Wu Jiandao looked shocked. Brother Ning, are you still normal? Zhang Shanju couldn't help but speak. This is not Ning Tianji's style at all. It's not normal, it's really not normal. Everyone is not used to him not being beaten. Ning Tianji gritted his teeth and said. I was just injured by that bloody murderer, so it's not the right time to take action, otherwise, how could I be afraid of her? He paused for a moment, then spoke harsh words toward the outside, saying. I miss you so much, so leave quickly, otherwise you won't be able to bear it when I'm angry. He had made up his mind not to go out this time anyway. So, as long as you don't get beaten, feel free to say harsh words. Outside the giant bronze palace, Demon Fierce raised his eyebrows, looked at the ancient bronze palace, and said, "So powerful. You don't dare to come out, you're still so arrogant, do you think I can't beat you?" After saying that, she suddenly stepped closer to the giant bronze palace, raised her little hand, and slapped it in with one palm. In an instant, the giant bronze palace hummed softly, as if some kind of supreme energy was flowing. However, even though that energy was awakened, it did not stop this palm. In the ancient bronze palace, Ning Tianji was sneering when suddenly, a palm print suddenly came from outside the hall, and he was caught off guard and slapped Ning Tianji in the face. Snapped. The crisp sound of a slap echoed throughout the bronze hall. For a moment, Ning Tianji was stunned. A burning feeling came over his face, and he was confused. What's going on? There was a look of disbelief in his eyes. Damn it, I haven't even gone out yet, how can I still be beaten? A slap in the face. At this moment, he was so ashamed and angry that he was almost furious. Ah! Devil, I will fight you until death, I will fight you until death. He was so angry that he jumped. The other ultimates were all suddenly startled and looked out of the hall with fear. The devil can actually attack through the ancient bronze palace. They were all surprised. The devil is very special. In the legend, it seems to have a deep connection with the unspeakable taboo existence in the pre-White Mist era. Chang Soon Chang Ching whispered, saying, although the ancient bronze palace was awakened, it probably didn't dare to stop her. If she really wanted to take action, the ancient bronze palace might not be able to help anyone. Everyone was horrified. In this case, this evil spirit, can he still enter and exit the ancient bronze palace at will? Ning Tianji, who had been clamoring to fight until death just now, was stunned when he heard this. He said sarcastically, and immediately shut up and stopped talking. And outside the ancient bronze palace, Mog glanced at the ancient palace with disdain and said, so weak. It's a complete waste of 9 methods. After saying that, she also left. Soon after, she appeared at the Great Wall of Bones. Taking steps, we have arrived in front of the abyss. She turned back and glanced in a certain direction of the ancestral world. That is the direction of Wuhuang realm. She thought of the small mountain village, the plum tree planted at the entrance of the small mountain village, and of her elder brother. She smiled slightly, tears welling up in her eyes for no apparent reason. She stretched out her hand to wipe them away and said, I've already gone home, what's there to cry about? I won't cry. I'm very happy to see my big brother. Big brother, see you again. She entered the abyss. Silently, it turned into thousands of light spots. Behind, on the Great Wall of Bones, the old man in white robe sprinkled paper money, his eyes filled with sadness. When you are alive, you use your life to fight for a piece of the ancestral world. After death, the bones will not survive, and they will fill the abyss of the sky. The old man spoke seriously and said, they have shouldered too much. Behind him, Chen Xiaoming, one of the 18 swordsmen of the Chen clan, clenched the sword in his hand and said, although we are weak, in this life, we will fight to the death and never retreat. The old man nodded, looked at Tianyuan, and after a long time, said, so far, there have been 6 supreme beings before and after, their bones filling the abyss of the sky. The bridge in the abyss has condensed to an unprecedented level. Nowadays, the low-level creatures on the other side of the grey mist sea can probably come over directly without having to sneak across. Go ahead and get ready. The old man paused and said, there is a huge chaos in the demonic wasteland, and it should be caused by the creatures that sneaked over from the grey mist sea. Now, the Tianyuan order has been passed down. Notify the major forces in the true ancestor realm and ask them to send people here to train and prepare for war. When there is a change in Tianyuan and the invasion from the Grey Mist Sea comes, the Great Wall Guards can spread the Tianyuan order to the world. All cultivators of the true ancestral realm, no matter who they are, must go to the Great Wall of Bones to defend themselves as long as they receive orders from Tianyuan. Because when Tianyuan restarts and the Grey Fog hits, it means that the war has come, and no one in the entire ancestral world can stay away from it. Previously, a very important reason why the old man allowed the stowaways from Tianyuan to pass safely was because the people in the true ancestor realm are too distracted today. Letting one or two catfish into this pool of clear water can give the true ancestor realm a sense of crisis. The sense of crisis will unite all the major forces in the world and share the same hatred. Now is the time. Chen Xiaoming nodded and said, "I'll go right away." Wuhuangja, small mountain village. Master, this is the time we went out and hunted prey, but they are all rare things. Wu Dade spoke. Li Fan also raised his eyes and looked outside, at the large number of prey. All kinds of things. There are wild deer with wings, ducks with 4 legs, and a lot of caged pigeons. That big cage of pigeons was transformed from 1,000 gray pigeons, one turned into hundreds. So many things, the harvest is indeed not small. Li Fan also nodded, and many of these things were species he had never seen before. It is indeed a world of immortal cultivation, full of wonders. I don't know how it tastes. Bring it back to the village and prepare for the banquet. Li Fan spoke. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 907. On the other side of the abyss, there is a world shrouded in grey fog. The grey origin fills the space between heaven, earth, and universe, making this world seem full of dullness. At this moment, behind the Tianyuan, countless pairs of scarlet eyes were staring into the Tianyuan. They are all waiting. What will be the consequences of the 12 immortals crossing the boundary? There are whispers of presence. Haha, in today's true ancestor realm, the strongest ones are only those on the road. Maybe they can easily destroy the entire true ancestor realm without us having to worry about it. There were creatures who sneered, very relaxed. Not necessarily, don't forget, that woman at the end of 10,000 paths left behind some kind of backup plan. There are also strong people who are very cautious. Not good. At this time, suddenly, a frightened voice came, saying, "All dead, all dead, all dead." Hearing this voice, all the scarlet eyes around him suddenly turned around. Brother Jian, what's wrong? What happened? Everything is dead. What happened? A strong man asks a question. But at this moment, Yi Yishan of the Grey Jiao clan looked extremely ugly. He took out a handful of real bones and said with a trembling voice, "The life bones of the 12 powerful men in the past, are all broken." The real bones in his hands were actually covered with cracks at this moment. The breeze blew gently, and those real bones cracked directly, turning into slag and powder. Seeing this scene, a pair of scarlet eyes in the grey mist were instantly shocked. Before the 12 powerful men left, they all left behind their true bones, which were personally guarded by Jian Yi of the Hui Jian clan. The true bones of one's life are with one's life. Now, the real bones are broken, meaning that they are all dead. No. Impossible. How is this possible? How could the 12 immortals die in a world where there are no ghosts? What happened? All beings were shocked. This is really amazing. In their eyes, the true ancestor realm is like an ant, and they don't even care. In their opinion, if Tianyuan hadn't stopped them, Grey Mist Sea would only have to snap a finger if it wanted to destroy the White Mist ancestral realm. However, now they are losing sight of the immortals one after another. 12. All destroyed. There is a problem in the Beiwu ancestral realm. There must be a problem. It is far from as simple as we imagined. What kind of backhand did the one at the end of the world leave behind? We must never cross boundaries easily again. At this moment, many strong men were palpitating, changing their previous contempt. The bridge in the abyss has become stronger. At this time, someone also spoke. I saw that the bridge of light in the deep abyss seemed to have become a reality. It was majestic, majestic, and majestic, connecting the two worlds. I have a feeling that Tianyuan is now passable. Yes, however, awakening the existence of Dao Jingdi in the past may still trigger the power of Tianyuan, and there will be no life for 10 deaths. We can't act rashly for the time being. Wait, this matter must wait for the adults to make a decision. All the previous beings were waiting for Tianyuan to reconnect, wishing they could kill him immediately and destroy that realm. But now, Tianyuan can finally carry some living beings, but they are all afraid of it. Don't dare to act rashly. After all, the deaths of 13 immortals were enough to make them feel afraid. Soon. Woo dash. Deep in the grey mist world, a horn suddenly sounded. Are those adults out of seclusion? Has this incident already alarmed them? Wait. In the grey fog world, all scarlet eyes are waiting. Now. In the world of endless grey fog. Somewhere in the mysterious void, the grey origin condensed into a pool of grey water. Under the water, creatures suddenly appeared. Why wake me up? Has Tianyuan restarted? Can that world be destroyed? We can't wait, destroy that world quickly and realize our supreme ambition, so that we can truly remain invincible. These creatures all emitted extremely terrifying auras and were all whispering. And at this moment, a huge shadow fell from the grey sky. It was a giant grey deer. On its back, there were actually 3 giant wings that covered the sky and the sun. 3-winged ferocious deer. This is an overlord of the 3-winged ferocious deer clan. Brother Liu Bie, what happened? A being in a grey pool spoke. 12 immortals died in the true ancestor realm. The deer tyrant of the 3-winged ferocious deer tribe landed on the side of the grey pool and spoke. Just for this. The 12 immortals, this shows that the true ancestor realm is not as weak as imagined, but so what? It's not worth waiting for us to wake up. The creatures in the grey pool were a little displeased. They are all overlord level beings of all races, and are the true heritage of all races in the grey mist sea. On weekdays, he doesn't go out at all and spends all his time cultivating in the grey source pool. The deaths of the 12 immortal seers were not a major event for them. Liu Bie said in a deep voice. There is more than enough power hidden there that can kill the immortals. A descendant of my clan awakened our true ancestor in that world. However, when the true ancestor of our clan arrived, he felt an inexplicable terrifying power. That kind of power scared away the true ancestor of our clan. Hearing this, many overlord-level creatures in the grey pool became solemn. The true ancestor is an existence respected by all races. In fact, the true ancestors no longer exist in the sea of grey mist, and no one knows where they are. However, whenever future generations call, they can use their Taoist scenery to appear. Mysterious. You can actually force the true ancestor back. What's hidden in that world? It's more unfathomable than we imagined. The overlord-level creatures all whispered. Liu Bie shook his head and said. I don't know, the true ancestor of our clan doesn't dare to look at that world at all, for fear of being implicated in karma. These words made many overlord-level creatures feel even heavier. Do even true ancestor-level beings have to be so cautious? That woman is already dead, what else? Someone spoke. Liu Bie Dao. The most terrifying thing in that world is that woman. She must have left behind unimaginable backup plans. Not understanding is always a big problem. Someone asked. We already knew before that the existence of demon ancestor and others stayed in that world. They should be the key. Isn't there any inducement to come back? Liu Bie shook his head and said. No, it's probably a failure. Before, we were too aggressive. Now it seems that this world of white fog deserves more patience. Now, the Tianyuan has been further solidified, enough to allow the creatures below the door to pass through. I want to find some smart young people to go to that world, one to explore, and the other to look for the Cao ancestor, demon ancestor, etc. It is best to kill them directly. Leave one or two behind and take a look. Previously, they tried to lure those powerful people back who originally belonged to the Grey Mist Sea, but later followed Wandao endpoint to the White Mist ancestral realm. But this time, the failure to lure demon ancestor and others made them murderous. Because, in their guess, the backup force of 10,000 Dao End is probably related to a dozen masters such as demon ancestor. If they kill one or two, they might be able to break the situation left by 10,000 Dao End. Okay, well, let the ancient eternal clan and the forbidden visitors over there also help move. At this moment, the true ancestor realm. The Tianyuan order came from the Great Wall of Bones in the far north and spread throughout the true ancestor realm. In an instant, the world was in shock. The Great Wall guards have issued an order to the heavenly abyss. The corpses of the 6 supreme beings have filled the heavenly abyss, and their connection with the Sea of Grey Mist is getting stronger and stronger. Now, low-level creatures can now pass through the abyss. It came too fast. The ancient legend is becoming a reality. The abyss of heaven will be reconnected, but the old covenant has never been realized. Will the one at the end of all paths no longer protect us? The world is looking at it with side eyes and talking about it everywhere. At the same time, there was even more shocking news in the Tianyuan order. A few days ago, there were grey mist creatures sneaking across the abyss. The shocking battle in the demonic wasteland was probably caused by those grey mist creatures. As soon as this news came out, the true ancestor world was immediately in a state of excitement. What? The shocking battle in the demonic wasteland is actually related to the creatures of the grey mist. Oh my god, just a few low-level beings who sneaked in can already trigger a battle between the ultimates. I see, I understand, the battle in the demonic wilderness should be between demon fears, blood fears, etc., fighting the ultimate in the Sea of Grey Mist. People are speculating a lot. There is no shortage of ultimates in the Sea of Grey Mist. An old man whispered. We must tense up, and prepare for war. Some people in power also spoke. No matter what, Tianyuan is too important, send some people there. In the endless peaceful years, many forces have forgotten Tianyuan and the Great Wall of Bones. Nowadays, such a shocking change has made many forces finally vigilant. Whether they are sincerely participating in the war or just want to get the latest news, they are resending masters from their families and sects to Tianyuan. The Forbidden Organization. In the top secret hall, Huihe and others had extremely solemn expressions. I don't know what happened to the demon desolate war, the demon fierce, the blood fierce, and the barbarian lord have all left. I don't know how the adults who came from the Grey Mist Sea are doing. Huihe and others were waiting nervously. Suddenly, an old man appeared in the scene. The old man was wearing a thick grey robe made of stone skin. His muscles were like stones and his face was expressionless, like a zombie. Seeing this old man, Huihe and others immediately stood up and saluted respectfully. I've seen you too old. I've seen Duo Lao. Du Lao, however, had a gloomy look on his face, and said in a sinister manner. Something serious has happened. On the other side of the Grey Mist Sea, 12 immortal seers were damaged, and they should all have died in the demonic wasteland. The 12 immortals, all died in the demonic wasteland. Upon hearing this, Huiyi and others were all shocked. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 908. What, the 12 immortal seers, actually died? This is a powerful man far beyond the ultimate. How is it possible? How can there be an existence in the true ancestor realm that can kill them? Devil Land, such a big change has happened. In the visitors' hall, Huiyi and other supreme elders were all silenced by Du Lao's words at this moment. The 12 immortal seers from the other side of the grey mist sea came across the border, and they actually ended up like this. All of a sudden, 12 people died. This is a tremendous change. The water in this world is deeper than we thought. Du Lao spoke in a dark voice and said. According to Grey Mist Sea's speculation, it should be the one at the end of 10,000 paths who left behind some backup plan. Now, they have decided to slow down. They will send some people over to find out the situation in this world. We have to be prepared to allow those coming from the other side to safely cross the Great Wall of Bones. Hearing this, Huiyi and others looked at each other. The one at the end of 10,000 paths is too scary. What kind of backup plan actually makes the Grey Mist Sea start to fear? They all felt an inexplicable pressure. Don't worry, Mr. Du, we will contact the Sacrifice Temple immediately. Huiyi said, as long as the World Sacrifice Temple and the 9 immortal ancient clans all speak in unison, the Great Wall Guards will not be able to stop the people coming from the Sea of Grey Mist. Du Lao nodded and said. The people over there came here mainly for investigation, not for war. So, don't let the creatures in this world be too hostile to them. The creatures of the Grey Mist are coming to investigate this world, and the biggest obstacle is. It's the hostility of the true ancestor realm. After all, the creatures coming now cannot even reach the level of opening the door. If the true ancestor realm is full of enemies, they might die if they come over. Moreover, the Great Wall Guards have issued the Tianyuan order, and the eyes of the world are focused on the other side of the Great Wall. Smuggling is unrealistic. Huiyi nodded and said. Huiyi understands. Du Lao nodded and left immediately. Brother Huiyi, it seems that there are a lot of people coming from the Grey Mist Sea. Huiyan opened his mouth and said. After all, the true ancestor realm has a feud with them. Most of the people in the world still hate the Grey Mist creatures. If they come, I'm afraid it will cause public outrage in the true ancestor realm. Huiyi just sneered and said. We don't have to worry about this kind of thing. The Temple of Sacrifice and the 9 immortal ancient clan are the rulers of the true ancestor realm. How to fool the people of the world and dispel the hostility of the people of the world, that is their business. Huiyan still had a trace of doubt in his eyes and said. But will they? The country and the family hate. Huiyi sneered, of course they will. In the eyes of rulers, what does hatred of country and family mean? If they have the opportunity to exchange for greater benefits, they will not hesitate to sell everything. To them, people in this world are more like pigs and dogs. They won't care. Huiyan couldn't help but nod, maybe this is human nature. But, if the World Sacrifice Temple asks, what happened in the demonic wilderness, how should I answer? Things in the demonic wasteland are too top secret. The 12 immortals who saw it all died. If word spread in the true ancestor realm, it would cause a huge storm. The ultimates in the World Sacrifice Temple will probably be shaken. After all, this world actually contains power that can compete with the Grey Mist Sea. Huiyi smiled. They were fascinated by the method of blood rushing into the Sea of Fog. The only thing they thought about was to slaughter all the 4 regions and 8 wildernesses in order to prove their own truth, and the newly promoted ultimate master Wu Jianghe was a thorn in their side. Well, just tell them that the strong man who came from the Grey Mist Sea was killed by Wu Jianghe, and Wu Jianghe had other strong reinforcements. and the existence of the Grey Mist Sea is about to cross the border to investigate Wu Jianghe and the mysterious reinforcements around him, and help the Temple of Sacrifice to remove these stumbling blocks. They'll be happy to. In the main hall, all the elders couldn't help but nod. This is indeed the best way. Not good. At this time, Wan Kongyun, the leader of the outer elders outside, hurriedly came over and said, "Elder Huizong, the soul lamp is out. The soul lamp is out?" After hearing this, the faces of Huihe and other elders did not change much. 12 immortal seers were all damaged, and Huizong died. No surprise. The battle taking place in the demonic wasteland was too high level, and Huizong had only just opened the door. It would be strange if he died. It doesn't matter if Huizong is dead. The key is, the bones of the Forbidden Lord. But Huihe spoke in a deep voice and said, "There must be no problem with the bones of the Forbidden Lord. We must find it back. This is so important." After hearing this, the bone coffin in the main hall suddenly started to ring. Listening to that voice, it seemed like he was struggling, so excited and urgent. At this moment, the skull of the Forbidden Lord in the coffin was in ecstasy. Therefore, it was trying hard to be beaten by those deified bones, and it was also trying its best to convey the message. "Don't let those 3 bones go." Interpretation Master Huihe took a look and said, "You see, the Forbidden Lord became anxious when he heard that the bones might be lost. We have to get it back." In the coffin, the skulls being beaten were speechless. But Wan Kongyun looked a little complicated and said, "For your information, Your Majesty, the bones of the Forbidden Lord are intact and have been revived." As he spoke, he took out a jade box from his sleeve and presented it with both hands. I saw 3 real bones in the jade box. The cracks had disappeared and were covered with dense bloodshot eyes. Seeing this, Huihe and other elders were all very surprised. "You actually brought all the bones of the Forbidden Lord back. Great. Great." And Huihe looked at Wan Kongyun and said, "What's going on? Such a big thing happened, how could the bones of the Forbidden Lord be brought back intact? Just thinking about it, it's outrageous. Who can do it?" Many of the Supreme Elders are also curious. A hint of complexity appeared on Wan Kongyun's face, and he said, "I would like to inform you, Your Majesty, that it is Song Jiyuan and Ao Wushuan. They survived, and they also revived the bones of the Forbidden Lord. These are 2 lucky stars." He couldn't help but admire him. Song Jiyuan and Ao Wushuan were really lucky. Every time, everyone else died, but the 2 of them were able to send the Forbidden Lord's skeleton back as if nothing was wrong. What a great achievement! It had only been a few days, and he felt that his position as the leader of the outer sect elders was probably no longer guaranteed. Hearing this, Huihe and others nodded repeatedly. "God bless us visitors." Huiyan couldn't help but sigh and said, "There are actually 2 lucky stars like this, why worry about the big thing not happening?" Huihe also waved his hand and said, "These 2 people must be reused. Song Jiyuan, Ao Wushuan, right? Starting from today, the 2 of them will be trained as candidates for the Supreme Leader. He is very grand." And Wan Kongyun was immediately shocked. The Supreme Candidate. This is a supreme honor in the visitor organization, second only to the Supreme Elder. Being able to become a candidate for Supreme Elder means that, there is a great chance of becoming a Supreme Elder. What does it mean to reach the sky in 1 step? This is 1 step to the top. He was envious, completely envious. A smile appeared on Huihe's face and he said, "It just so happens that one of the top 10 elders is missing. Let both of them be candidates at the same time, and the one with outstanding performance can become the Supreme Elder. In this case, the 2 of them must compete with each other crazily and try their best for the organization." The other elders also laughed. This is the way to employ people. Shortly after, Wan Kongyun left the secret palace and went directly to the residences of Ao Wushuan and Song Jiyuan to tell them the good news. When Song Jiyuan heard that he was chosen as a candidate for the Supreme Court, he was instantly happy. He deeply understood that this was a great opportunity. Ao Wushuan just breathed a sigh of relief. Whether it's too good or not, doesn't matter, as long as it's not discovered. But not long after, Song Jiyuan, after a burst of excitement, began to worry. He thought hard and didn't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights, and his eyes were red. "Brother Song, what's wrong with you?" On the 4th day, Ao Wushuan couldn't help asking questions. Song Jiyuan looked at Ao Wushuan, gritted his teeth and said, "Brother Ao, we are both candidates for the Supreme Shang, but there is only one vacancy for the Supreme Shang. I want to be the elder brother, but you, brother, are the real hero." In fact, he has had murderous intentions many times in the past 3 days. Kill Ao Wushuan and you will be safe. However, he finally endured it. After all, he knew very well that along the way, he relied entirely on Ao Wushuan to be where he is today. If Ao Wushuan dies, the organization will ask him to complete the task next time. He thought it was also a death. When Ao Wushuan heard this, he immediately felt relieved and said, "It doesn't matter, you are in the supreme position. Brother Song, just sit down. Lao Ao, don't care." Hearing this, Song Jiyuan was immediately moved. This Ao Wushuan is so loyal. Great spirit. And Ao Wushuan has already continued. Furthermore, although there is only one vacancy for the Supreme Being right now, there will probably be other vacancies after a while. Hearing this, Song Jiyuan was suddenly startled, and he couldn't help but subconsciously look at Ao Wushuan. "This guy, what do you mean?" He was inexplicably worried. "No way. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert." Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 909. The Temple of Sacrifice to the World. The evil spirit is finally gone. Many ultimates breathed a long sigh of relief. When facing Yinzun, Jianzun and others, they are very safe. As long as they are in the sacrifice temple, they have no worries. However, the devil can actually attack beyond the temple of sacrifice. Moreover, the world sacrifice temple still dare not stop her? This directly broke through their psychological defenses and made them truly feel a deep threat. After all, the evil reputation is too great. Although it is just a corpse, who can not be scared if he really comes in? In the pre-White Mist era, the world only knew about the 10 gods and 2 evil spirits, and only knew about the one at the end of 10,000 paths, but in some extremely taboo and mysterious legends, there was another person, unspeakable and unreadable, far away, the one who is above the top 10 and the 2 evils, even the one at the end of 10,000 paths, can only chase his back for the rest of his life. Chang Sun Changqing murmured, with an inexplicable longing in his heart. He had only heard half of this legend. Regarding that existence, it seems impossible to record it in the world. It is just some ancient inheritance and word of mouth. The information that can be passed down is too little. Many times, even their ultimates only regard it as untrustworthy unofficial history and legends. But today's evil attack seemed to confirm some legends in some way. Did such a thing really exist in the pre-White Mist era? He doesn't know. The demon fears, the blood fears and the barbarian lord have all been born. At this moment, Zhang Shanju opened his mouth and said, "There was such a big battle in Demon Desolation. That traitor Wu Jianghe should be dead, right? It should be noted that the reason why they brought the 3 beings from the Grey Mist Sea over was to kill Wu Jianghe. In this demonic war, Wu Jianghe has reached the ultimate level, and must have been found. What will be the result? If Grey Mist Sea takes action, Wu Jianghe will definitely die. We should be able to go to all walks of life to rebuild dojos and prepare to fight against the Sea of Fog with blood. It's just because of those 3 traitors that it took us so long. Everyone is looking forward to it. However, Xuanhuan said. Don't be impatient. I'll ask the visitors first to confirm whether the 3 traitors are dead. He took out a jade talisman and used a secret method to transmit the sound. Immediately afterwards, Xuanhuan received the news from the visitor. Xuanhuan was suddenly shocked, his face changed drastically, and he lost his voice. What? This is impossible. Seeing this, everyone was extremely concerned and asked questions hurriedly. What's wrong, Brother G? What happened? Xuanhuan's face was extremely ugly and uncertain. He gritted his teeth and said. Wu Jianghe is not dead, he has mysterious help. On the contrary, on the other side of the grey mist sea, several ultimates died. Hearing this, all the ultimates in the field changed their expressions, and all of them gasped. What, Wu Jianghe, is not dead? The ultimate from the grey mist sea, died. Wu Jianghe has actually grown to the point where he can kill the ultimate. This shock was written on their faces. In the main hall, there was a strange brief silence, and you could hear a needle drop. Everyone looked at each other in shock. Wu Jianghe has become a serious problem. Zhang Shanjin murmured, took a deep breath and said. Everyone, we can no longer sit back and watch, he can already kill the ultimate and has become a tiger. Everyone nodded solemnly. Wu Jianghe has threatened their status and even their lives. The most important thing is, Wu Jianghe has mysterious help, this shows that we underestimated him. Wu Jindao opened his mouth and said. Are there other ultimate beings in this world? We don't know about it? This question made everyone feel even heavier. The situation this time is unprecedentedly terrifying. The tiger has become a threat. We must not sit still and wait for death. I suggest that we take action immediately and kill him. Zhang Shan said, if Wu Jianghe is not dead, we will have trouble sleeping and eating. The rest of the ultimates were also moved, and their murderous intentions were revealed. However, Chang Sun Changqing sighed and said. Everyone, maybe it's too late to take action now. Several of the ultimates in the grey mist sea have fallen, what are our chances of winning if we take action? Wu Jianghe can kill the grey mist ultimate, can't he kill us? Hearing this, everyone looked a little embarrassed. Brother Zhang Sun is right, we can't take risks easily. Take Mishima spoke. I also think, this is too reckless. Even Ning Tianji shook his head. Since becoming the ultimate, they have always been high up, overlooking all living beings. A life and death battle? To them, it's very far away. In addition, the ultimates in the grey mist sea are all dead, how can they dare to risk their lives? Then what should we do? Are we just going to sit back and watch Wu Jianghe do nothing? If this continues, when will we be able to attain enlightenment? Jiang Shanji asked. Chang Sun Changqing looked at Ji Wulu and said. Brother Ji, if I'm not wrong, there should be a solution to the problem of the forbidden visitor. Ji Wulu nodded expressionlessly and said. Good. Tianyuan has been reconnected. From the grey mist sea, some people will be sent over in the near future to find out the mysterious reinforcements around Wu Jianghe, and then, deal with them. The visitors want us to ensure that the people on the other side of the grey mist sea come here safely and are free from the hostility of the world. Everyone couldn't help but ponder. The Great Wall of Bones has issued the Tianyuan order. Now, the world is watching, and sneaking across is impossible. Anyone who comes over there will be discovered. Moreover, in the true ancestor realm, everyone in the world is hostile to the grey mist creatures. After all, in the great battle in the pre-white mist era, the true ancestor realm was almost destroyed. If it weren't for the 10 deities and 2 evil men, and those at 10,000 paths terminus, who could hold up the sky with all their strength, the true ancestor realm no longer exists. Now that the Grey Fog powerhouse is coming, it will cause public outrage in the world. Therefore, the visitors need to seek help from the world's sacrifice temple to provide shelter. People who come from the Grey Mist Sea are the public enemies of the world, and are the traitors of the Grey Mist Sea. Changsun Changqing shook his head and said, "Is it really okay for us to protect them and risk such a big deal of disapproval?" Ji Wulu said calmly. "Don't forget, sooner or later, we are all from the Grey Mist Sea. Measuring the material resources of the ancestor realm and gaining the favor of the Grey Mist Sea, is a good thing for us. As for the people of the world, haha, they are just blind ants. How can they distinguish between good and evil? With a little guidance from us, we can control public opinion. What they can see is only what we want them to see." He is very calm. Brother G is right, Grey Mist Sea must not be offended. If someone from the Grey Mist Sea does something wrong, it will affect our future. Everyone spoke. Changsun Changqing also fell silent. Shortly after, everyone dispersed. "Brother G, who is the mole? Do you have any clues?" Ning Tianji stayed and asked Ji Wulu questions. Ji Wulu shook his head and said, "It's not certain yet, but it must be Changsun Changqing or one of Wu Jindao. Judging from the current situation, the insider is obviously trying to sabotage our plan by contacting the three traitors in Wu Jianghe. It's even possible that both of them are moles." When Ning Tianji heard this, he couldn't help but be stunned. Soon after, Ning Tianji left the main hall and returned to his retreat. But he saw Changsun Changqing already waiting for him here. Ning Tianji looked a little complicated and said, "Changsun, who is the traitor? Do you have any clues now?" Changsun Changqing nodded and said solemnly, "I'm not completely sure, but there are some new clues. To be honest, I really don't know how to judge, so I'll discuss it with Brother Ning." Ning Tianji said. "What clue?" Changsun Changqing said. "Brother Ning, answer me first. Are there any survivors of the geniuses from your clan who went to the demonic wasteland?" Ning Tianji shook his head and said sadly, "All dead, no one left." Changsun Changqing then nodded and said, "Your descendants are dead, I feel relieved." Upon hearing this, Ning Tianji immediately became angry and said, "Changsun Changqing, what do you mean? Is this schadenfreude?" Changsun Changqing smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Ning, don't be angry. I didn't mean to ridicule, but the fact that your descendants are also dead is enough to prove that you are not a mole. I am dissatisfied with Brother Ning. The genius I value most in our eldest grandson family, is also dead." There was so much regret on his face. Ning Tianji said, "What does this have to do with the clue you mentioned?" The eldest grandson, Chang Qing, sighed and said, "Brother Ning, members of both our families have died, but 3 people from the Ji family have returned alive." Hearing this, Ning Tianji was slightly shocked. 3 of the Ji family actually survived. Suspicion flashed in his eyes. Damn, this Ji Wulu. Are you afraid it's not a thief calling for catch the thief? Changsun Changqing has already continued. The inner ghost must be me, one of Ji Wulu and Wu Jindao. Because the inner ghost is obviously constantly leaking secrets to the 3 traitors in Wu Jianghe, and those 3 traitors are from our 3 clans. Now, although I really don't want to admit it, Brother Ji is suspicious." He seemed reluctant to believe it and said, "Of course, maybe this is just me overreacting, maybe descendants of other tribes have returned, too." Ning Tianji had found his direction at this moment, and he immediately said in a deep voice, "I'll check it out. I want to see who is back this time. If it's true that only members of his Ji family are alive." A cold light flashed in his eyes. "Brother Ning, be careful, you are the only person I can trust." Changsun Changqing asked with concern and said, "I go first?" Ning Tianji looked at Chang Sun Changqing's leaving figure and murmured. I misjudged Chang Sun Changqing before, he is an honest man. On the contrary, this Ji Wulu is so cunning. Thinking about it, he felt a little angry. This Ji Wulu actually wanted to lie to him. After a long time, outside the demonic wasteland, somewhere in the void. What? Lao Wu killed several ultimates. Chang Sun Bu let in me, his jaw dropped and his mouth was dumbfounded. Next to him, Ji Wuden was also extremely shocked. Lao Wu is really too strong, to the point where he can kill the ultimate. Lao Wu, invincible. He murmured and said. Let's go find Lao Wu quickly. But Chang Sun Bumi shook his head and said. No, we must not go to him now. He just went through a big battle and killed so many grey mist ultimates. He must be injured and is healing. If there was a need, he would have contacted us long ago. But he has not contacted us yet. If we go to him rashly, we may also expose his location. Now, all the ultimates in the Temple of Sacrifice want to kill him. My ancestor finally managed to get those people to give up their thoughts and temporarily gave Lao Wu a chance to breathe. We cannot bring danger to Lao Wu. Hearing this, Ji Wuden also nodded and said. You are so considerate. Lao Wu went crazy this time. I hope he is fine. And at this moment, somewhere in space, Wu Jianghe took out a bottle of wine and drank it slowly and happily. Let you fight for life and death. What does it have to do with me, Wu Jianghe? He smiled and said. Isn't it good to just sit and watch the show? Go to bed early today. Install. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 910. As night falls, the small mountain village in winter is still particularly lively. Let's have the table, let's have the table. When it was time for the banquet again, the villagers gathered together, bringing together the old and the young. Lighting the fire, chopping meat and bones, washing and oiling the pot, just like usual. Amidst the busyness, there was laughter and laughter. It's not the Chinese New Year yet, but there is already a Chinese New Year atmosphere in the village. Everyone has gathered together and is busy everywhere. Li Fan asked someone to call Yun 11 and the others, and then took Xianning, Gong Ya and the others to start working directly on site. The meat of these deer wings is delicious and the essence, I have to let Xiao Li make this. This duck feet is also a good thing. Duck feet and duck neck can be used to make braised food. The meat of this big bison is probably even better than wild boar. Uncle Zhang and a group of people were decomposing the prey and commenting on the various ingredients. Girl Zhang Shui, you are finally back. Aunt Wang was so happy when she saw Zhang Shui. She pulled Zhang Shui aside and complained. You said you never came back once you left. After all these years, you have made your aunts miss you so much. When you come back this time, you will stay in the village permanently and you are not allowed to go anywhere. Zhang Shui's eyes were inexplicably filled with emotion. She had only lived in the village for a while, but the villagers treated her as a relative. She nodded and said with a smile. Aunt, I'm not going anywhere this time, I'll help you peel the garlic. I immediately took a handful of garlic and started peeling it. Aunt Wang smiled and said. Good. On the other side, the three new mental patients were stunned when they saw the scene in front of them. Simply, I was stunned. They are all taboo existences, it's too scary. How could such a village appear in this world? Demon Ancestor murmured, thousands of grey pigeons and three-winged ferocious deer, are actually meant for eating. Back then, he once forced his way into the Dao scenery to pass the Ghost Pass, but he almost died. Fortunately, he met the one at the end of 10,000 paths. At that time, he took advantage of it, followed the person at the end of 10,000 roads, and took advantage of that person's meal. That meal included a three-winged ferocious deer and so on. However, this was the only meal he had ever eaten in his life. To him, it was the pinnacle of demon life, a delicious meal. But now, in this village, it is as commonplace as a daily meal, and some meat is even looked down upon. Sure enough, even one blade of grass reaches the taboo level, and the villagers here, what kind of fairy villagers are these? Blood Ancestor was also in a state of extreme awe. I saw a pig bone in a smelly ditch on the roadside, no one wants it, right? I'll risk my life to beg that senior for it soon. Chizio was extremely excited. He rubbed his hands and kept mumbling along the way. By the way, Sister Zinning, where is the Dao Academy that Senior Li asked us to study at? At this time, Demon Ancestor asked Zinning. Xianning couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. De Dao College? What Dao Academy? When did eldest brother let you study? She spoke in confusion. Demon Ancestor said. Senior Li. Didn't he admit us to the hospital? When Xianning heard this, he was speechless and said. Big brother is not talking about De Dao College, but a mental hospital or a lunatic asylum. Next to him, Wu Dade was very happy when he heard this and said. Dao Academy, with your understanding, it's outrageous, simply outrageous. Hearing this, the three demon ancestors were immediately startled. They looked at each other with infinite confusion in their eyes. What? Not Dao College? Is it a madhouse? This is outrageous, outrageous. Damn it, demon ancestor, you beast, you cheated us both again. Blood Ancestor's blood pressure suddenly rose. He stared at Demon Ancestor and spoke angrily. He and Kizu didn't understand at all what kind of courtyard Senior Li was talking about at that time. As a result, seeing how happy Demon Ancestor was that he agreed to be admitted to the hospital with Demon Ancestor, they thought it was a good thing and were very happy. As a result, he ended up in a lunatic asylum? It sounds like. Demon Ancestor suddenly panicked and said. Sister Zinning, we are all normal people. We are not crazy, we can't come in, we can't come in. Xianning said. Oh, aren't you mentally ill? Go talk to your elder brother yourself. Hearing this, Demon Ancestor suddenly choked up. Go talk to Senior Li? How could they have the courage to do so? The big boss is so eloquent, these little scumbags, dare you say you don't want to? I'm afraid that in a matter of minutes, Tao will disappear and all causes and effects will be wiped out. Demon Ancestor said shamelessly. Sister, for the sake of me guarding your body for so many years, please help me and beg for mercy. However, as soon as he finished speaking, several children suddenly ran past them. Uncle Tianbei is here with a mentally ill person. I saw Ming Tianbei, with a bullwhip on his waist, already coming with Shueji, Shanming, Tishan and other demon commanders, along with 3 psychopaths. Wei. Swishin. Mennan? You 3 guys are here too. When Yin Suan saw Demon Ancestor and the others, he suddenly spoke in surprise. The 3 demon ancestors were pleading for Xianning. When they heard this, they suddenly turned around and were shocked to see Yin Suan and the other 3. Wu Ziyu, Lao Yin, Qing Cheng, why are you here too? They immediately stepped forward. SHH. Please don't call me Martial Ancestor, call me number 1. Wu Zuluo Chen, however, hurriedly spoke in a low voice. Number 1? Demon Ancestor and others were stunned. What the hell is this? Yin Suan explained. Well, the 3 of us are mentally ill now. Lao Wu number 1, Qing Chen number 2, and I am no 3. This made Demon Ancestor and the others even more confused. How could the dignified Martial Ancestor, Yin Ancestor, and Sword Ancestor be considered mentally ill? How did you end up like this, actually willing to degenerate and become mentally ill? The blood ancestor couldn't help but speak. When Xuanhuan heard this, he was very meaningful. He showed his breath slightly and said, "You call this a self-destruction?" Sensing his aura, the three blood ancestors were all shocked. Xuanhuan, actually reached. See the immortal level. How can this be? Have you learned how to worship ghosts? The blood ancestor couldn't help but speak. Xuanhuan immediately vomited blood and said, "What is the method of worshipping ghosts? I am upright and have passed through the four realms. Your brain means you have a good life, otherwise, this will be the case for the rest of your life." Demon ancestor nodded solemnly and said, "It's true that it's not the way to worship ghosts. For evidence, brother bitch, number 3, how did you do it? Could it be that, your path forward, has been continued?" There was a hint of excitement in his words. You should know, why were they willing to come to the true ancestor realm back then? It's because the one at the end of the road gave them hope to continue on. Back then, they were people at the peak of the grey mist sea. They were the ancestors of a clan. How could they not know how to worship ghosts? However, they were unwilling to leave. Now, Xuanhuan arrived to see the immortal without having to worship ghosts. Doesn't this mean that the road ahead has been continued? Xuanhuan said meaningfully. Be a mentally ill person, and everything will come true. Next to him, Luo Xingchen took out a piece of overnight meat jerky and gnawed on it while saying, "Why are you talking to them so much? Be less mentally ill, no one is trying to grab food from us." Demon ancestor took a sniff and felt the piece of dried meat in Luo Xingchen's hand. It seemed extremely extraordinary. "Lao Wu, what are you eating? Give me a bite to try." Demon ancestor asked curiously. Luo Xingchen immediately hid the dried meat in his hand and said, No, it's just a piece of leftovers from my last meal. I'm looking for number 3. He has it in his pocket. The three demon ancestors immediately turned their heads and looked at Xuanhuan. Xuanhuan suddenly became angry and said, "Lao Wu, you are not kind. Is it easy for me to accumulate a little wealth?" As he spoke, he reluctantly took out a few pieces of chili peel. The pepper skin seems to be picked out from the leftovers, and the ones left behind are a little dry. Can this be eaten? Chizio was a little confused when he got a piece of chili peel as big as a fingernail. But the blood ancestor was already excited. He was even more sensitive to this kind of treasure and said, "This is a good thing." Immediately, he swallowed it in one gulp. In an instant, he felt an endless hot power burning throughout his body, causing his origin to be burned and purified. This feels exciting and comfortable. The blood ancestor was immediately excited to the extreme, feeling that his blood was activated and his evolution was accelerating. Seeing this, demon ancestor and chi ancestor also hurriedly ate the pepper peels in their hands. Then, the two of them were suddenly very surprised. What a treasure this is, my origin seems to have been transformed. Even in the entire Grey Fog Sea, I can't find it. They were all excited. Bitch brother, give me some more, don't be stingy. Demon ancestor Wei immediately looked at Xuanhuan, his eyes extremely eager. He felt that with a few more dollars, he might be able to achieve an unimaginable transformation. Xuanhuan twitched the corner of his mouth and said, "No more." Demon ancestor's gaze faintly glanced at Qing Cheng to one side. Qing Cheng had a cold temperament and said, "No. Demon ancestor. This is too heartless. Is this treated as a mental illness?" At this moment, the blood ancestor couldn't help but speak, his eyes burning, and said, "This mental illness, I'm sure of it. What more dignity do you need? Can dignity be eaten as spicy food? Cannot." The demon ancestor and the weapon ancestor also made up their minds in an instant. Even if they die, they will be regarded as mentally ill in the village. Sister Xining. Demon ancestor then turned his head and looked at Xuanhuan. Xining was a little annoyed and said angrily. You're so annoying. Okay, 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 I'll go find my elder brother and tell you not to think you're mentally ill. Demon ancestor said hurriedly. No, no, no. I want to be one, I like being one. What I mean is, for the sake of us all being demons, can you please help me and let me use the back door? He gritted his teeth and said. I want to be number 4. Otherwise, it would be so embarrassing for the devil. He didn't want to be ranked behind the blood ancestor and the weapon ancestor, it would be too embarrassing. Xuanhuan. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 911. Wow, so much delicious food. So much meat, junior brother Dade, you have gained quite a lot this time. Not long after, everyone in the small courtyard, including Nanfeng, Ziling, Zhongli, etc., also came. They were all pleasantly surprised when they saw the scene in the field. Sister Yungzi. Xuanhuan put down the book in her hand, walked over, blinked and said. Sister, we brought back 3 mentally ill people this time. They should also have the jade you want. Xining was extremely smart, and she vaguely knew that those jade should be very important to Sister Yungzi, so she immediately stepped forward. Hearing this, Yun 11's big eyes also shone with joy and said. 3. Where? Xuanhuan pointed at the 3 demon ancestors. At this moment, the 3 demon ancestors also looked over. When they saw Yun 11, the expressions of the 3 of them suddenly changed. What, is she? Demon ancestor murmured. At this moment, his eyes were filled with excitement and he said. She is here too? Did she come back from the other side of the road? She is not dead. But, immediately after, his eyes suddenly became filled with sadness, and he said. No. She's dead, this is her, reincarnation. Blood ancestor Xuetian was also shocked and said. Even she, didn't succeed. Men Nan was very direct and knelt down directly. Demon ancestor, blood ancestor, also immediately, knelt down. 3 mentally ill people, do you have anything to give me? Yun 11 walked over, her big eyes filled with anticipation. She just finished speaking. The 3 demon ancestors suddenly felt that their consciousness was about to burst. As if being torn apart, a piece of jade actually appeared in the sea of consciousness. Then, appear in their hands. Is this the jade she implanted into our sea of consciousness back then? Demon ancestor murmured. What a great gesture, we didn't even know about it. The blood ancestor was extremely happy, dripping with cold sweat, and said. Fortunately, I have been hungry for so many years. If I had eaten people randomly, I would have died long ago. Chizio was trembling as he offered this piece of jade with both hands. When Yun 11 saw this, he was very happy and took all 3 pieces of jade. That's great, I got 3 more yuan. She combined the 3 pieces of red dust jade with the previous 3 pieces. Vaguely, the words on the jade seemed to have some outlines. However, it is still unrecognizable. Everyone will gather them sooner or later. Yun 11 spoke in a low voice. From the beginning, she knew what the words on the jade were, because she had dreamed about it. In the dream, Li Fan gave her the jade and then left. Later, the jade broke into pieces. She carefully put the jade away, and then, without thinking any more, said to the 3 demon ancestors. Thank you. After saying that, she turned to look at Li Fan who was cooking and said. Big devil, I want to eat braised duck feet and braised duck neck. Li Fan was wearing an apron, raised his eyes and smiled, saying. Okay, I'll give it to you. Nanfen Xiling and others also stepped forward to sign up. Master, are these deer wings delicious? I want to eat braised ones. I heard that the pigeon soup is very delicious. Master, please cook a pot. There's beef to eat again. Master, let's have a pot of braised beef. Li Fan agreed one by one, and Gongya was busy helping her. Yun 11 also asked Li Fan to put on an apron for her and go to help her. On the other side, the three demon ancestors were in a daze when they saw this scene. Is she still the same person who killed the 10,000 ends of the grey mist sea back then? The blood ancestor couldn't help but speak. That woman back then had astonishing cultivation, unparalleled elegance, and was able to smelt all kinds of things with her invincible appearance. Who wouldn't be afraid of her? Today, this girl seems to be content with an ordinary life. She no longer has the domineering power that has lasted forever, only a smile like a flower and innocence. She said that her whole life, she has been following in the footsteps of one person. She wants to find him. Demon ancestor whispered. He looked at Yun 11 who was not helping Li Fan and said. Senior Li, is he the one she is looking for? She found it, perhaps, this is the happiest thing for her. Soon. It's time to eat. The table is filled with delicacies, and at first glance, almost all of them are meat dishes. Li Fan finally took off his apron and sat with Yun 11 and his disciples. Come on, try the braised duck neck. He gave Yungzi a braised duck neck and said. The texture of this duck meat is much rougher than the one raised by Aunt Wang. Just eat it. When the Chinese New Year comes, I will ask Aunt Wang for one to cook for you. Yun 11 nodded repeatedly, but he didn't care about talking at all and concentrated on enjoying the food. Xianning, come and eat braised deer wings. Zi Ling will come too. He served his disciples with dishes, Nanfan Xiling and others, all of whom were extremely happy. Wu Dade picked up a duck leg and chewed it. His mouth was full of oil. As he wiped it, he said to the big black dog at his feet. It's so delicious, it's a pity that it's all your fault, otherwise there would have been a fat duck. But the big black dog slapped his hand with its paw, and the duck leg immediately fell down. The big black dog bit it and took it aside to eat. Damn dog, you are such a thief. Wu Dade couldn't help but cursed. The other side. Ming Tianbei, Shuiji demon commander, and a group of mentally ill people sat at the same table. It's delicious, it's all extremely delicious. Demon ancestor's eyes were shining. He picked up the chopsticks, picked up the meat, put it into his mouth, and devoured it. It's still the same meat quality, but it tastes better than she did back then. He enjoyed it to the fullest. Blood ancestor and weapon ancestor were also very excited. This was their first time enjoying such high-end ingredients. However, when the three of them were eating meat, Luo Xingchen and Yin Xuan next to them didn't eat much at all. Instead, they had very bad eyesight. If there was onion, ginger, garlic, etc. on the plate, they would put their chopsticks down there. Their bowls are full of various condiments. As for Qing Cheng, she looks more normal. She eats onions, ginger, garlic, peppers, etc., but she can't help but eat meat. Mainly because, the meat is really delicious. No. It seems that in this dish, chili peppers are more precious than meat. After eating for a long time, the blood ancestor suddenly remembered, and then slapped his head. That's sloppy. He also hurriedly took off his chopsticks and looked for spicy food. The demon ancestor and the weapon ancestor also reacted. It's over, I'm almost full. Chizia was upset. Demon ancestor Wei suddenly reached into Yin Xuan's bowl with his chopsticks and grabbed 2 large pieces of ginger. Hell, you might as well change your name to Jian Mo. Are you taking all this? Yin Xuan was immediately angry. Luo Xingchen hurriedly poured everything in his bowl into his pocket and hid it. Even Qing Cheng silently covered his bowl. Afraid of being robbed? The second uncle sitting at the same table with them couldn't help but shake his head at this moment. Even grabbing chili peels and ginger slices for cooking, but not eating meat? Is the meat not fragrant? The world of mental illness is really incomprehensible. Soon, the feast was finished. Everyone gathered around the campfire. Doves are roasting on the bonfire. While chatting, Li Fan asked Qing Chen and the others to bring some drinks as usual. The aroma of wine, accompanied by the aroma of roasted squab, made the venue even more lively. The wine enters the stomach and turns into thousands of avenues. Nanfan sat and played the harp, drunkenly, and the sound of the harp was like a guide, allowing her consciousness to continue exploring in the spiritual platform. Suddenly, she glimpsed 10 divine fires, illuminating the spiritual platform and making them vaguely visible. That's where the 3 souls and 7 souls are. Nanfan has entered a new realm. 8 realms, soul enlightenment. The so-called soul enlightenment is to detect the location of the 3 souls and 7 souls, awaken the soul from the divine fire, and allow the 3 souls and 7 souls to move from the unconscious state to the conscious state. The 3 souls and 7 souls are the foundation for cultivators to communicate with each other and open the door to the road. Huh? No. Why are my divine fires all empty, and there are no 3 souls or 7 souls? Suddenly, Nanfan was slightly shocked, because she discovered that among the 10 divine fires, they were all empty. Nanfan doesn't have 3 souls and 7 souls. Good night.